you all for joining us today. We will be kicking off this conversation. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Amanda Aguilar. I am the NPowerMATCH manager. NPowerMATCH is our mentorship program for NPower, and we have the opportunity to highlight a lot of our outstanding members of the mentoring community, both our mentors and mentees, and our very own alumni from NPower as well. So, just want to thank you again for joining today's panel discussion. It's truly an honor to be here with such an esteemed group of panelists and attendees who share a passion for mentorship and its transformative power. Mentorship is more than just guidance or advice. It's about fostering relationships that encourage growth, build confidence, and open doors for communities. Whether it's in the workplace, in education, or within our communities, mentoring plays a crucial role in shaping the leaders of tomorrow. This month, widely known as National Mentoring Month, we shine a spotlight on the importance of mentoring and its impact on both mentors and mentees. Through today's conversation, we will also explore how we can all contribute to creating more meaningful mentorship experiences. To further celebrate the folks who have made a difference by joining EmpowerMatch as a mentor, we presented 2024 mentors with an EmpowerMatch Certificate of Appreciation on behalf of everyone at Empower. How exciting it is to honor difference makers in this way and see their tremendous accomplishment across LinkedIn networks. Thanks again for celebrating National Mentoring Month through LinkedIn and today's conversation. We have an incredible panel ready to share their insights and experiences on the vital role mentoring plays in one's personal and professional development. We will hear from our moderator, Jen Case, Director at Infotech Research Group, our panelist, Jayla Williams, apprentice at NPower Community Help Desk, panelist Graham Squires, Senior Software Engineer at Prudential, panelist Dee Summy, IT Program Management Lead at MetLife, and panelist Curtis Jordan, Associate Director of Security and Intelligence at Kyndryl, who will also collaborate with our special guest, Manashita Saha, Director of Social Impact at Kyndryl, who will spotlight Kyndryl's efforts and commitment to uplifting aspiring tech leaders. Surely the insights of our panelists will spark new ideas and serve as an inspiration for us all to get involved and make a difference in our communities. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Jen Case, who will kick off today's conversation with our panelists. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Hi, everyone. I'm truly so excited to be here today to lead this discussion. I've truly loved the time that I've spent with Empower the last few years, and I know that we are in for a great time today learning from a fantastic group of people. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to get this kicked off. So with that, I'd love to start off with the panel. And each of you, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your field. And so, Curtis, maybe we kick it off with you.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Curtis Jordan. My background is all technology. I was in the Army, and I started out in sensors and radars in the military, came out, went to Georgia Tech, and at this time, there was no such thing as a cybersecurity degree, but I went into robotics and embedded systems, and that low-level programming knowledge let me kind of weave my way into cybersecurity by not knowing how to say no. So I know a little bit of a technology, and someone says, "Hey, can you do this other thing that takes some part of that and goes to the next thing?" And I've done that throughout my career, and so I've done a great deal in the cybersecurity space. There's a large number of jobs in that, and I've done most of them. So that's me.
Very good. Thank you, Curtis. I'm sure that you have seen a lot of changes then throughout that long career, especially as it relates now with cybersecurity. Very nice to meet you. Dee.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dee Summy. I am an IT program management lead at MetLife. I'm actually grew up in North Carolina, went to UNC, Chapel Hill, Go Hills. But I started off as a psychology major, and I jokingly say that I fell into the whole IT program management, field, although I do feel like there's some level of psychology that that I can leverage as I engage and implement projects.
Oh, absolutely. I think psychology is one of those things that you can use in every field. So sure, we're gonna learn
Yes.
a lot from you. Thank you. Graham.
Hey everybody, good morning. So my name is Graham Squires and I'm a software engineer at Prudential. And I actually, similar to Dia, I majored in environmental science and then after school, leveraged, my interest in technology and then just interest in building sustainable communities to sort of launch a career in engineering. And so I've been here for about 6 years and I just really love building products that, allow improvements in any area. So I have a lot of fun doing what I do.
Well, it's good that we have such a wide background here to kind of shape our conversation. Graham, since we're chatting with you, I would love to understand what inspired you to become a mentor with Empower?
Sure. So I was really inspired by the mentors that guided me early in my career. And I'll always remember some of the mentors that took me under their wing, especially during NPower internships. One that I always remember, Sir Akaprash Naluri at Citi. What I found was that the guidance and the ability to share his experience and asking me questions about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go, it just made it extremely easy for me to bridge the gap between where I was and then where I was looking to make an impact in the workplace. And so I'm really inspired by the mentors that helped me. That I like to think that they learned from me as well, and I really look to pass it on because I think it's an invaluable thing that we can all do for each other.
Mm. Curtis, I saw you nodding there. I think you might have hit a chord. What do you have to say on that? And what inspired you to become a mentor?
So early in my career, I found that I was often the only Black or brown face. And so I didn't really have a mentor or an example as I was working. Well, not official. I made it a point to watch people, to learn just by viewing others. And so I would see that creating solutions would help advance me. So I would do it. I'd see that how important networking was. So I'd copy it. And I told my children, I told one of my mentees, I had a great knowledge of what to do, or I had a great knowledge of what not to do, but I had no idea about what, I should do or why I'm doing it sometimes. I just know that this leads to something better. And I wish I had a mentor to give me guidance earlier in my career. And so that's the big reason for doing it now, is to give someone what I wish I'd had.
I love that. I think there's a quote, something like a goal without a plan is a dream, something like that. Like getting those steps on how to accomplish what you're trying to do. I think a mentor can provide that. And I think very well said. Dee, what got you into mentoring? What inspired you to do this?
It's actually a couple of things. One is just really NPower's mission as far as just leading, people who may not have been introduced to the technology field, I guess, in the traditional sense. Because when I think about the people that have been impactful in my life, they did take a non-traditional, path, to becoming, successful or just being in their field. And that's really been an inspiration. So I wanted to be able to be a part of something that drove that same purpose. And another thing is, I think personal growth is something that's been really important and really has played a big role in my life. So when I think about personal growth, it's not just holding on to that information, is actually being able to share and use that sharing to connect with other people. So really NPower and being able to mentor has allowed me to do that.
Very good. Thank you. And I would love to hear a little bit from Jayla, who we also have here representing the mentees and the folks who have taken advantage of this great program. So Jayla, I'd love to understand from you, What inspired you to seek out a mentor, and how has that impacted your life?
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. So for me, what inspired me to seek out mentorship, really was the opportunity was presented to me through the Empower program while I was doing the Tech Fundamentals course. And I've never had a mentor before. And so I said, why not go ahead and give it a try? Because I figured that I could benefit from any kind of mentorship. And I thought it'd be helpful to me, not only in my professional growth, but also in my personal life as well. Um, and having a mentor has been one of the pluses of my life, I could say. Dee was my mentor, and I had a wonderful time with her, and I've learned a lot and a lot about myself from her. So thank you for that.
So of course I have to ask, Dee, do you happen to be the mentor?
Jayla and I, we were in a mentorship relationship, and I say it in past tense, but it was just such an amazing experience from my perspective that we've actually agreed to, stay in contact. So yeah, it was really a pleasure working with Jayla.
Oh, I love that story, and I love that you're both here today. I think it'd be interesting to hear from you, Dee, in mentoring. What do you have a time when mentoring someone has helped you learn something about yourself? I think Graham, you mentioned that often you'll help the mentees, or I'm probably saying it backwards there. Being a mentor, you learn from the mentees. Dee, I'd love to hear a little bit about a time when you learned something about yourself through mentoring.
Well, yes, because it's very important to remember as a mentor that there's no checklist or there's no structure as far as just going down a list as you really feed into the mentorship. It's just really remembering that, every mentee is unique. So I would say that one of the things that I learned really about my leadership style is just realizing that and being okay with, kind of switching up my approach and my style just based on what the mentee is looking for, their personality, and whatever their aspirations are.
Hmm. And Curtis, I saw that you were nodding there. Do you have some experience with learning something about yourself through mentoring?
I think Dee hit it on the head, learning to use different aspects of your own knowledge and experiences and how you interact with the mentee and how you guide. And I think the other thing I learned was sometimes you go through life and you have all of these experiences and someone says, what do you know? And you say, oh, I know a bit about cybersecurity. But when you sit with the mentee, you realize that, okay, I also can help with investments. I can also help with relationships. I can also help with personal development and therapy. I can guide in a lot of different ways. And you realize the breadth of your life experiences when you sit down with the mentee for the first time. You're just like, wow, okay, all of these things that have just been life, right? For myself, you've come to realize that there are some beautiful lessons that you can pass on in that relationship. And I think that's really cool.
I love that. I think that hits the nail on the head. We have someone else on the line here, Herb Hoffman, who's been a mentor to me. And he always has shared with me that even though I don't have a traditional IT background, there are things that I can bring to the table to someone that can be inspiring for them, that might not look the way that you think, but that could be helpful. So thank you for that, Curtis. Jayla, I'd love to understand what you think are the most important qualities in looking for a mentor or in finding a good mentor. What have been some of the things that you've looked for?
Me, I believe the most important quality to look for in a mentor is empathy. So finding someone to mentor you who could be empathetic, it opens ways for them to understand you and where you're coming from as a person. So I think that's the very most important thing for me. And I believe that it also allows them to tailor their support to you to best fit that I'm looking for as a mentee to help assist me on my journey.
Very good. I do think empathy is important. And figuring out as you're looking for a mentor, what are the things that are important to you? I know there's a lot of people online here today probably considering one. So think about that for sure. Um, Thank you guys for kicking us off. We're going to dive now into some of the lessons that you've experienced through mentorship and what that journey's been like. So, Graham, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the lessons that you've learned, or maybe the biggest lesson you've learned on your mentorship journey?
Sure. So I think for me, the biggest lesson that I've learned has been about not having all the answers, and that it's really about, listening and guiding and empowering others to find their own solutions. So early on, like I really thought that being a good mentor meant providing direct answers and always having an answer for every question. And I've realized that a lot of it really comes from asking the right questions and, encouraging critical thinking. And by sharing your own experience, helping mentees build their own confidence in their own decision making. So, with that, I've really learned that everyone's journey is unique, and flexibility is really key. So whether it's communicating on the platform or finding ways to do phone calls, or, using different chat platforms to meet mentees where they are, and also just that it's a two-way street. And I think that, it's what we just talked about, which just is, as much as you can help a mentee can help you continuously grow as a professional. So it's been a big learning journey in all of those ways, that's part of what I love about it.
Mm-hmm. Going back to that theme of always learning ourselves, right? Even if we're in the mentor role, we're always learning. So I love that. So kind of two key things we've heard then about is the empathy part and then the flexibility part. Going back to that empathy and really thinking about the importance of that. What role, Curtis, would you say that empathy has played in your mentorship style? And how do you ensure to connect with your mentees on a personal level?
I think vulnerability is huge. And being willing to share what you've been through, how you got through it. And sometimes you get yourself into hard spots, and being able to share like, this is a mistake I made. Sometimes it's a mistake of cognition that, I was thinking this, but it was, that wasn't the actual reality. So to pause, and to have that vulnerability. And I think on the empathy side, we are all having human experiences. That's a point of connection. But despite us all having human experiences, we all have a different story. And so sharing your story and really connecting with your mentee's story, that empathy is huge there. But that makes such a deep connection when you do it. Yeah.
I love that. D, kind of piggybacking off of what Curtis just said, I imagine empathy's played a big role in your time as a mentor.
Yes, I totally agree with what Curtis was saying, being transparent, not thinking that as a mentor, I have to be, perfect, because, I think that'll do, the opposite of, what you want to happen in the mentorship. Will actually probably create more of a wall versus building, that, connection. um and like I said, and really just being okay, not only sharing, where I've thrived, but also sharing, okay, times when I was afraid, and just really how I navigated through those types of situations.
I love that. I think there's some stat about how like most of the things we go through in life, it won't be a first time someone's gone through it, probably anything. And so hearing other people have gone through it and how they navigated it, so helpful. I actually think that's a really good segue to Jayla, to come back to you. Can you tell us a little bit about a personal or professional time where maybe you had a big, tough decision to make and you were able to leverage a mentor or someone to kind of get some guidance on how to handle it, or gain clarity?
Sure. So it actually happened just recently for me, and that was making a decision to get back into the workforce full time. And that's because I've actually had the blessing and the luxury of being a stay-at-home mom, and just spending every day with my daughter, to now having to transition to only seeing her for so many hours. That's been one of the biggest or toughest decisions for me. And of course, I've had the support of my husband, my family, but not only them, Dee, she's actually been a huge support for me in that area, just by making some suggestions and letting me know that everything will be okay. And then also not only her, empowers social support managers. I want to shout out Helen Rattler. She was very helpful in providing a list of like daycare services or childcare services for me. So that really warmed my heart and it showed me that I had tons of support behind me. And it just made things easier for me. So yeah.
I love that. And I think that's a good segue into the role that a program like Empower Match. What role can the Empower support structure provide, supporting mentees and mentors in this journey? So I don't know, Jayla, if you or Graham, if one of you have some insight into the role that the Empower Match program has played with that. Graham, it looks like you're nodding.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say the NPower staff just play a huge role in supporting mentees and mentors throughout the journey, especially for the beginning of mentoring. I think that's a great thing to know about is that there's a lot of support and guidance for you, not just for the mentees. Whether it's training, virtual coaching, discussion topics, all of those things just really help us focus on meaningful conversations and building an impactful mentorship. So, at least from the mentor perspective, the platform and the easy communication and always being available for questions. I just feel really supported by the Empower staff and that it's a team effort to create the most impactful mentorships we can.
Hmm. That's very good to hear for folks that are considering becoming a mentor. And this is a question for all of the group. What advice would you give to someone that is just starting out as a mentor? And maybe they've never done it and they feel overwhelmed by the idea, but what's some advice you'd give? Dee?
Do it. Because my thing is that with all of our experiences, all of our knowledge, we just weren't made just to keep that to ourselves. I mean, we as humans, we're made to connect, with others, and being an Empower mentor really, again, allow that space, for that.
Absolutely. Just do it, as Nike says, right?
Yep, just do it. That's right.
Just do it. And Curtis, what about you? What are your thoughts on someone thinking about becoming a mentor and how to get best started?
Empower is a great way to do it. I think this was a really cool mentoring experience. Very well structured, pretty good job, and lining up mentees with mentors. That was really, really great. As far as advice, say yes to more. And it's very much in line with Dee. Sometimes people think that, well, I'm not an expert in anything, or, I don't know if I have enough knowledge or something like that. And often in life, if you have a little bit, it can often cover quite a bit. So you just take the shot. Say yes to more.
Graham, anything you want to add to that?
It really just echoing what both have said, and I think that for me the best phrasing there is say yes. I think that it's something where you never feel ready right away to go, and the best way to start is to get started. And I think that people might be, don't be nervous that you have to be this amazing, stellar person. There's so much help that you can provide by sharing your experience, and then you continue to get better as you go. So my opinion is very much the same. Say yes and start your journey, and then go from there. And no matter what, there's going to be growth and good opportunities for you and a mentee.
I love that. I think that is such a good line we can all take. The best way to start is to get started. That's such a good takeaway. Thank you, Graham. I'd love to hear from any of the panel on a moment that you realized that your mentoring did make a difference. Our theme today is honoring the difference makers. So if anyone has a moment to share, that'd be wonderful. Curtis, you're smiling. Do you got a moment to share with us? I guess we're all smiling, but
yeah. So my mentee, I did a lot, like early on, I was speaking about the power of story and knowing your own stories, because it makes it so much easier to communicate. That if you know your stories, you have a little toolbox of stories that you can use when certain questions come up. It makes your speaking much more authentic and automatic. There's not a lot of trying to think of what to say. It just comes out smoothly. And so then it's okay, then just connect with people, make it a point. And there's little things that I've done within Kendrell that I encourage my mentee to do. And near the end of the mentorship, he actually got promoted. And I was so stoked and happy for him, proud of him. I was like, so that was awesome. That's where I got to see where that difference happens. And yeah.
I love that story. Those are the winds that keep us going, right? Keep the wind in our sails. That's a story about career victory. I'd love to chat, Jayla, for a moment with you about how mentors can help mentees not only in their careers, but also in their personal lives achieve success and also make differences in the world themselves, just in a bigger picture. So what
Yeah.
are your thoughts?
So for me, actually, one of my biggest takeaways was that this mentoring relationship helped me more in my personal life than I could say professionally, because I am just getting started. But it helped me realize that I'm much greater than I think I am. It helped me realize that the confidence lies within me. And having a mentor really helps pull that out of me. So I was struggling a lot with feeling like not good enough. And sometimes you need that outside source to help you and help you realize that you got it in you. So I believe that having a mentor, if you don't have one, you should probably look into it. If not, find a friend, someone that you could trust and someone that you're comfortable with to help you, just bounce off those ideas. So this mentoring program really helped me more personally. I feel way more confident with connecting with people, and I'm not so nervous about networking now, and introducing myself first in the room when I come around new people. So it's been a huge help in my personal life.
I love that. Confidence. That's wonderful. And you doing this today shows a tremendous confidence. So I applaud you. Way to go. And it's very exciting. And so thinking about how Jayla's not afraid to amplify her voice at this point, Curtis, I'd love to hear from you how you use mentoring in that platform to amplify voices that otherwise might go unheard.
And speaking with the mentee, sometimes there's this reticence to be the first one to speak, to step up to challenges where you're going to be the face of something. And that's one of those things where mentors are really helpful, where to Jayla's point, sometimes you are nervous to, you can do it, but you're not sure, and that uncertainty holds you back. Being able to push and say, no, go for it. You got this, you can do this. That is huge. And I think for the next generation coming along, having mentors give you that push, especially when you're from a community where you might not normally have that gives so much opportunity. And having your peers see you do that also makes a difference. So sometimes, Jayla, this is very much for you. You're probably inspiring people and don't even know it. And I think that's huge.
Thank you.
Yes. Dee, if you could sum up mentoring, your experience with it in one word, what would it be and why?
Just one word. I would say gratifying. And when I say that, it's not necessary. It actually is not necessarily, what I found gratifying or was gratifying for my mentor is really a two-way street. Again, being able to make that connection, I would say with Jayla, in this case, and being able to help her feel empowered. But then also walking away from those conversations, just it was a learning experience, a growth opportunity for me, just because I mean, being in a mentorship offers a different perspective, whether it's you as the mentee or me as the mentor.
Absolutely. I think it's all about learning from each other in this
Yes.
mentor-mentee world. Uh, in terms of the challenges to mentoring and biggest barriers that we might come across, Graham, what do you think are the biggest barriers right now, and how can we overcome them?
So I think some of the biggest barriers, one is time constraints. I know that both myself and my mentees, you think it's going to be easy, but finding time to meet regularly and stay on track with your goals can be difficult. And a way we work around that is setting clear expectations at the start. And I think that goes back to the support that the NPower staff provides is, helping how to do that, because that's like, and that there's all sorts of framework, they really, especially for your first time trying, they really help you learn how to do that. And then, scheduling regular check-ins, all of those things help you with the time constraints. And another one is communication challenges. Sometimes there's misunderstandings or, just mismatched expectations. And what I found is that, when you communicate openly and honestly, that it really overcomes any of those challenges. Um, I really just work to maintain, clear communication. And I really feel like by creating a safe and judgment-free space, we get past that one. So, those are two of the biggest obstacles that I've bumped into, and they're always overcomable as long as you sort of, focus on those things.
Hmm. I think that's inspiring for sure to think we can take time constraints, but we can set the clear expectations and make sure that we accomplish the goals that we want to. So thank you for sharing that. I want to make sure that we're going to get time for the whole group to ask questions. But before we kind of dive into those questions, one last thing, Curtis, I'd love for you to share one small action that we can all take today to be a difference maker today. Something small.
It sounds odd, maybe, but be vulnerable. To your point earlier, there are very few experiences for which you are truly the first human being to ever go through whatever that thing is. Being able to say, I've seen that too. I've experienced that too. That vulnerability. And to Dee's point, if you show up as perfect, you set such an impossible example for someone that they won't try. And so that vulnerability to say, I too have struggled and I've had to overcome things. It becomes a human experience where the mentee can say, okay, maybe I can. So just be vulnerable.
I love it. So we've learned so much already today, everyone. We know that the best way to start is to get started. Communication is key. We learned that we can learn more even beyond our professional career through a mentor. We can learn about life, and then we want to be vulnerable. So thank you all for sharing this. I do want to toss it over to Amanda Santiago. She's going to be fielding some questions from the group. Please use the chat feature to ask questions. And Amanda, with that, I will see what you have for us.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And hey, everyone, I am just a voice in the sky for this portion. But my first question is going to be for all the mentors. What does the mentoring commitment look like for a full-time professional interested in mentoring one or two aspiring professionals?
Oh, I can go first. And really, it's really about working that time commitment out together with your mentee. For me personally, I chose a day where I don't have many meetings. So we tended to gravitate towards, Fridays for about an hour. We would meet every other week. But I also leave the door open for, a mentee wants to talk about something more, more immediately and not necessarily wait for that that one-on-one time, get a quick email and, maybe we can set up a call from there or just communicate, via email. So that's how the time commitment has looked for me as a mentor.
Fantastic. And I will pass the buck to Graham. I see you came off mute.
Yeah, sure. So, for me, the mentoring commitment, it varies, each month, and it definitely starts with, I think the initial meeting we usually take longer than an hour to introduce ourselves and set, goals and expectations. And then we have regular check-ins. So, I would say that I rarely, in terms of formal commitment, it might be, 2 to 4 hours a month. But what I find is that we end up chatting via, Discord or email and doing ad hoc things that make it so that it doesn't really feel like a time commitment so much as a part of my life. So what I'd say is, 2 to 4 hours of formal, working together, and then in between then, it's sort of just it feels like less of a commitment and more of just working together. So
Thank you, Graham. Curtis, have any insights?
I think, Dee and Graham's nailed it. Maybe the only thing I'd add is it might seem like a lot, but if you schedule regular meetings on the calendar, on your work calendar, it doesn't feel like it's too much at all. It's just, and sometimes things will come up and I just say, hey, okay, we're going to shift to this day, but that steady cadence, my mentee and I still meet because it's just a habit now. So.
Love that. Thank you, everyone. And then I'm just going to run through these questions rapid fire. So my next question is going to be specifically for Jayla. Jayla, do you have any advice for mentors when it comes to building trust with their mentees?
Yes, so when picking or choosing your mentor, I think it's important to find certain qualities that are similar between the two, because I think it acts as a bridge to enable that trust. And trust is very the very most important thing that you need to develop a relationship with anybody. And so, just especially for me, since it was my first time having a mentor, I needed someone that I could relate to, someone that looked like me and shared similar values to me. So that way it could be easier to um, just get the ball rolling and see where our journey goes. So I think that it's important to, be upfront about not everything, but as much as possible so that the journey could be as successful as it can be.
I love that. Very valuable advice there. My next question is going to be for Curtis. What role does cultural understanding and diversity play in your mentoring relationships?
So I think when you answer this question, someone thinks cultural understanding, and it sounds like how many countries have you visited? And it's good to understand cultures from around the world because you'll find most of them in the US. But there's so many cultures in the US, and I think sometimes you don't know it unless you were born outside of the US and came to the US, right? Where in the Black community, there's actually maybe 2 or 3 different cultures within the community, but it's always seen as this monolith. And understanding the different cultures in each community, I have that same sort of understanding for the Korean community, Vietnamese community, the Cambodian community. I connect with a lot of people, but it changes how you interact with someone. It changes how you receive information. You're less likely to get offended and less likely to misunderstand. Some things you want to give a bit of advice, but it may not work for someone. And so where no advice is one size fits all. You can adapt it for individuals, but it's no one size fits all. And that's where that cultural understanding really comes in and drives so much value, both for you as a mentor learning and for the mentee in receiving and growing themselves.
I love that. Thank you, Curtis. And then just a few more questions over here. Next is going to be for Dee. What are some common misconceptions about mentoring that you'd like to address?
I think we touched on this earlier. Feeling as mentors know it all. They're we're the one-stop shop. For all all information and everything. I would say that it's more. probably more of a networking thing. Like for instance, with Jayla, I asked her, well, what areas are you interested in? And as a program manager, I may not have that exact technical expertise, but at the same time, because I work on a variety of IT projects, I pretty much know, people or other professionals that may touch on areas of interest for Jayla. So instead of being that, that one-stop shop, I ended up being more of a connector, for Jayla, just so that she could talk to other professionals that may be able to offer her more detailed advice based on her interest.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Dee. And then I have a hardball question from one of our avid mentors and volunteers. So I'm going to start with Graham first, but would love to hear from all. How do you know when the mentorship has run its course? How do you get out of a mentorship when it's just not clicking and people feel obligated?
Sure. So yeah, I think it can be difficult to know when a mentorship has run its course, but I think there are some things that you can look for, and it's have you achieved goals that you're working towards? And once you've hit a point where the mentee has reached the goals that you've set at the beginning of the cycle, it might be time to transition out of a formal relationship. If they're consistently meeting milestones and they've gained those skills, then at a certain point you might say that's success, and we transition to a less formal structure. And or if there's a lack of engagement, if somebody really feels there's no progress being made, it could be a sign that it's time for something different, or maybe a different mentor has, that you're not locked in, and you always do your best, but that could be another sign. And I think that for both of those things, that again, it goes back to communication, where if you're talking things through and coming to understandings, it'll be sort of obvious to both of you, and that you can acknowledge, hey, maybe this isn't working. Let's proactively find how to transition to a different structure. So I would say communication again comes into play big time there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Graham. And of my other mentors and Jayla, please feel free to drop your answers in the chat. I'm going to transition back over to Jen, and she's going to continue moderating for the next part of our panel discussion. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, wonderful panelists. And Jayla, that was awesome. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I learned a lot from each of you, and I really appreciate your insights. So on the call today, we also have Manoshita Saha, and I'm so excited to introduce her. And we definitely probably have some members here that are new to Kyndryl and Kyndryl's work. Manoshita is part of Kyndryl. And so she's going to tell us today a little bit more about Kyndryl and her role within the organization. So Manoshita, it's good to see you, and thank you for being here today. We'd love to start off with you telling us a little bit about your role there at Kyndryl and more about Kyndryl's work.
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. So let me start with a little bit about Kyndryl and Kyndryl's culture, because that's going to really explain my role. So Kyndryl is the world's largest IT infrastructure company. You can think of us as maybe the world's largest startup. We're actually a spin-off from IBM. We spun off in November 2021 and became an independent company. But above everything else, I think what I would love people to know about Kyndryl is that we're an incredibly people-centric company. It's about our people, it's about our community. And from day one, we really, as a company, have made it a priority to work towards progress in the communities where our people live and work. So my role is very much how do we make that come to life? How do we make that commitment come to life for our employees and also for our communities? And so one of the things that Kyndryl did, which is a bit of an outlier, is to launch a foundation very early on in the company's tenure. So we launched the Kyndryl Foundation in less than 2 years of becoming an independent company. And the purpose of this Kyndryl Foundation was really about helping more individuals and more organizations gain the skills required for economic advancement. economic advancement, economic inclusion is one of our 3 core priorities within the company as far as community impact goes. And it's a big reason behind the foundation. And when we launched the foundation, we had this pillar and we were thinking, okay, well, in this pillar, like, what do we do? And we landed on cybersecurity skilling. We canvassed the landscape and we saw, okay, this is a sector, this is an area that is incredibly important to government, to business, to the nonprofit sector. And actually, what we see is there's a much higher percentage across the board who see the risk, but don't feel comfortable actually to handle the risk that comes around cybersecurity, which means that there's a high need for skilling. And we know that it's a sector that pays really well. So it really lends itself well into our objectives around, again, economic empowerment. And then also from a business standpoint, we know that this is a place, an area where we can lean in with our expertise and really partner wherever the foundation partners as more than just a financial supporter. We can be a holistic partner in this area. And we found NPower in that way. I mean, NPower just, really stood out as an incredible partner with an innovative and adaptive approach around skilling and specifically around cybersecurity. And they're one of our, inaugural grantees, and we're just thrilled for that partnership. So it's a little bit about history of Kyndryl. We're super young, so it's weird to say history. We're 3 years young, but how we work and my role.
Thank you, Manashita. That's so helpful. I think it's so inspiring that you guys already got that foundation up and running and what you're doing. That's, I've been in IT a long time. I don't see many companies that have had that success, and that's awesome. Kyndryl is an active supporter of NPowerMATCH. So we've talked some about NPowerMATCH here today, and a large part of that success has been a reflection of your dedication to mentor recruitment and getting mentors like Curtis to participate. Can you talk to us a little bit about your process for spreading the awareness about NPowerMATCH across Kyndryl?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll start with the culture part of it again, because again, I heard some words. Dee used the word gratifying as the one word summation of how she feels as a mentor. And Curtis also talked about that desire to give back. So I'll start by saying that, the first step for us was really, we have this culture where people do want to give of their time and talent to the community. So that's there. That's a huge help. But then beyond that, of course, there's a structure behind recruitment. So I think, we started by also just getting very specific. Yes, we heard the need. There's a need for mentorship. Mentorship where? And with NPower, we really drills down into there's a great need for mentorship actually amongst the veteran community, the veteran trainees. And that helped us a lot because we really narrowed it down. And it was a very natural conversation for us to have, for me to have with our veterans ERG. We call them KINs here at Kyndryl. And when we had that conversation, it was a resounding yes. And of course, there's structure behind that yes. I mean, the first steps are a couple of conversations with Curtis and other leaders in our veteran community. And then it's the strategic elements of, okay, clear communications, clear expectations, empowering existing champion mentors and volunteers to spread the word on our behalf as to what would be the benefit of signing up. So there's, of course, that structure around recruitment in terms of the communications plans, the recruitment strategy. But again, I think it starts with that culture, getting focused and then personalizing it. Why would you want to do this? What is the benefit holistically to you and to the community? And really dialing into, the human and the culture part of it is, how does this factor into the people-centric culture and into the larger mission?
I love that. I think in terms of engagement in the employees that you have there, it seems like you guys probably have that as a part of the criteria when they join the Kyndryl family. You have that culture, you have that vibe, and so it's natural for them to want to give back. Then probably makes them feel more connected to Kyndryl as well. So kind of just like the mentor-mentee partnership, it's good for everyone then. So thank you for that, Monoshita. I'm happy to see you still here, Curtis. Everyone, I don't know if we really mentioned this too strongly at the beginning, but Curtis Jordan is the Associate Director of Security Intelligence at Kyndryl, and he's also an NPower mentor. And so, Curtis, we have gotten to hear a lot today from you about that experience has been, But are there any more key takeaways, lessons learned, skills developed from being a mentor that you'd like to share with the group in your time at Kyndryl?
Sure. This one's a big one for mentees and mentors. When you look for a job, everyone looks for money. I recommend that you pay attention to the company culture. Are they intentional about it? And do they actually strive to live up to that culture they're setting? It is a difference maker, both in terms of company success, your overall salary, everything. And so I say that from the perspective of someone who has worked with 6 small startups, and every one of them were successful. And there was no way I could know that at the beginning because TrueStar is employee number 6. I couldn't know that it was going to win, right? The culture that Kyndryl set out right at the beginning really matters. And you can see the impact both in our business relationships, in our alliances and partnerships. It's huge. And so I would encourage you to pay attention to that sort of thing. And to your question, looking at how Manushrita shows up, she's a colleague and a friend, but she really, she leans into this place. She leads and guides from the heart. And I think when it comes to finding mentors for mentees, her ability to connect with her colleagues matters a great deal. And so that really helps with the relationships that are built. I think that's a really cool, important thing.
Thank you for that, Curtis. So Manushrita, is there anything you want to add to what Curtis just said in terms of experiences with mentees in that program there?
First of all, thank you. That's so kind. The sentiment goes both ways, and Curtis knows that. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I think, maybe the organizational approach, just from, how do you get your foot in the door from an organizational perspective? And I think this is maybe, it could be for mentees, but it could be for organizations who are looking for, mentors to come in. And I think, it's really important, if you can, to personalize the ask. For the recipient of this ask, and what are they uniquely positioned to deliver? In my brief history of Kyndryl, I talked about, why cybersecurity, because we have a unique perspective and business value on that. I think if we can tailor the ask in that way, it's much easier to get your foot in the door. And then once your foot is in the door, the yeses will come, because we know from all of the mentors and mentees here, when you get to that one-on-one human relationship, the breadth is huge. I mean, the mentorship can be from anything from the professional to the personalization, but the first step is to get to the yes. And the best way to get to the yes is to really to set up for it. And so when we are making those asks, I think that personalization of like really dialing into like, what can that organization or that individual offer at a unique level, it goes a long way. And then it flourishes from there, because people feel empowered then to say the yes and take that step.
That's very helpful. That was going to be kind of the next topic, the advice that you would give to organizations or communities looking to build stronger mentoring networks. And so it seems like kind of the biggest piece of advice is personalize the ask. And when you're reaching out, making it about them and why you're going for them. And it's not just a blanket, who wants to help?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing. It's easy to say no to an email or a random post somewhere. It's hard to say no to Manushrita. So the personalization matters.
I can see this, Curtis. I've only known Manushrita for a little bit, but I think it would be hard to say no if she called me. So
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I'm just curious, we only have a few minutes left here, but for your vision for the mentoring program that you're doing, what are your hopes and dreams to see happen with it? And what are you hoping for 2025?
For both of us, or?
Yeah, we can start with you, Manushrita.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's growth, growth, growth. I mean, you'll actually, if you walk in around our offices, it's like the buzzword of right now, and it goes along all sides. I mean, it's about the mentorship, which we see as an extension of community impact. So that's the theme for us, to put it very slowly. I mean, our business will grow, and as our business grows, in proportion, we are very intentional about how we also show up as a responsible corporate citizen, and that happens through our people. So it's empowering those opportunities, including, of course, mentorship, which is so huge and something that people really gravitate to.
I love that. Take care of your people, they'll take care of other people, and your business will grow. I think it's a recipe for success for sure. Curtis, what were you going to share?
That's it. Take care of your people. People matter. And this is a matter of, if some of our mentees end up working at other companies that for which we wish to do business with later, or with whom we have alliance partnerships with, that like as soon as we start business, you have a good relationship right at the beginning because of those things. Likewise, as we, find new employees that have the skill sets we need, again, we become that employer of choice. And I think we're just continuing that process. So take care of your people.
Well, I sure appreciate hearing from both of you today. I think that's such a good note to pass it back to the Empower ladies with, is people matter. Take care of your people. And with that, I think, Amanda, you're going to give some closing statements perhaps at the end. But just from me, thank you, Monoshita and Curtis and all the panelists and Empower for letting me participate in this. I had a wonderful time as always.
Thank you so much, Jen. Really appreciate your contribution to the conversation, and also having Curtis and Monashita share about their experiences and values from Kyndryl. So really appreciate that part of the conversation. Thank you for joining. I just wanted to have a few closing remarks, but essentially, as we conclude today's insightful panel discussion on the power of mentorship and difference makers, I want to express our sincere gratitude to all our panelists for sharing their invaluable experiences, wisdom, and perspectives. Your words have not only highlighted the power of mentorship in shaping lives, but also reminded us of the responsibility we all share in guiding and empowering others to reach their full potential. Mentorship is not just about providing knowledge, it's about creating lasting connections, fostering growth, and nurturing a sense of possibility. Each of us, regardless of our background or position, has the opportunity to make a positive impact on someone's life. If you are interested in learning about how you can join the NPowerMATCH mentoring community today, please contact us at mentoring@npower.org, and we'll include this email in the chat. We will be connecting with NPower students and alumni at our upcoming virtual info sessions. So if you're interested in joining that, please connect with your alumni engagement team to learn more. We are also recruiting mentors for our upcoming spring 2025 cycle, which is kicking off this April. Your insights can make a difference in the life of a mentee. Let's leave here today inspired and motivated to embrace mentorship in our own lives, whether by seeking out mentors or becoming one ourselves. Together, we can continue to build a more supportive, collaborative, and empowering community for everyone. Thank you once again to our panelists and to all of you for being part of this important conversation. Let's continue to make a difference one mentorship at a time. So, again, wanted to say thank you. And if there are any questions we were not able to address today, we'll be sure to include additional information in our post email wrap up. And also you can, again, visit us at mentoring@npower.org. But with all that, I want to thank you for your time today and for everyone setting out to make a difference in your communities. Take care.